The text from Jacob came 3 days before Christmas. Don't bother coming this year. You're not welcome. I stared at my phone, reading it again. And again. The gifts I'd already wrapped for his kids sat in neat rows on my dining room table, the Nintendo Switch for Tyler, the art supplies for Emma, the robotics kit for little Mason. Each one carefully chosen, each one representing hours of overtime I'd worked to afford them. My name is Zayden, and for the past 7 years, I've been the uncle who shows up. The one who pays for summer camps when Jacob claims money's tight. The one who covers school supplies every August. The one who mysteriously receives calls about emergency car repairs that always seem to happen right before the holidays. But apparently, that wasn't enough anymore. I called him immediately. What do you mean I'm not welcome? You know exactly what I mean. Jacob's voice was cold, calculated. Kelly and I have been talking, and we're tired of your half-hearted attempts at being part of this family. Either you're all in, or you're out. Half-hearted? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jacob, I paid Mason's hospital bills last spring. I covered your mortgage for 3 months when you said you were between jobs. And you never let us forget it, do you? He shot back, always playing the hero, making us feel like charity cases. The kids don't need your pity gifts. They need a real uncle who actually cares. The accusation hit me like a physical blow. Pity gifts? Jacob, I love those kids. If you love them, you'd do more than throw money at them twice a year. You'd be here for them. But you're too busy with your precious career, aren't you? Too important for family dinners. Too successful to remember birthdays without your assistant reminding you. That was a lie. I never missed a birthday. Never missed a school play when I was invited. But Jacob had a way of rewriting history when it suited him. So what do you want from me? I asked, already knowing this conversation was going exactly where he intended. We need commitment, Zayden. Real commitment. The kid's education isn't getting cheaper. Tyler needs tutoring. Emma's dance classes are essential for her development. And Mason, well, you know his medical situation. There it was. The ask. It always came down to money, dressed up as something else. I'm already paying for Emma's dance classes, I reminded him. The basic ones. She needs to be in the competitive program. That's an extra $800 a month. And Tyler's tutoring, we're looking at specialized help for his dyslexia. That's another $1,200, $2,000 a month. On top of everything else I was already covering. Jacob, that's $30,000 a year just for family, he interrupted. But clearly, we're not worth it to you. Kelly was right. You only help when it makes you look good. When you can swoop in and be the savior. But consistent support, being truly present, that's too much to ask from the great Zayden, isn't it? The manipulation was so expertly crafted that for a moment, I actually questioned myself. Had I been distant? Was throwing money at problems my way of avoiding real connection? But then I remembered Thanksgiving, just weeks ago, when I'd driven 3 hours to be there, only to have Jacob spend the entire meal talking about his colleague's new boat while Kelly barely acknowledged my presence. You know what? I said, feeling something shift inside me. You're right. I haven't been doing enough. Finally. You're seeing sense. No, Jacob. I've been doing too much. I've been enabling this. Whatever this is. And it stops now. The silence on the other end was deafening. You're seriously going to punish the kids because your ego is bruised? His voice had shifted from cold to dangerous. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm setting boundaries. The gifts I bought are here whenever the kids want them. My door is always open to them. But this financial manipulation, this emotional blackmail, it's over. You're a pathetic loser, Zayden. You know that? Sitting in your fancy apartment, no family of your own, no one who actually loves you. We gave you purpose. We gave you a chance to matter. And this is how you repay us? Each word was chosen to wound. And Jacob knew exactly where to strike. He'd always known my insecurities, the failed engagement 5 years ago, the loneliness I tried to fill with work, the way I'd thrown myself into being the perfect uncle because I didn't have children of my own. Maybe you're right, I said quietly. Maybe I am pathetic. But at least I'm not extorting my own brother. I hung up before he could respond. The next 3 days were a blur of second-guessing and self-doubt. I'd pick up my phone to call and apologize, then put it down. I'd look at the gifts and wonder if I was being petty, punishing innocent kids for their father's behavior. But something Kelly had said years ago kept echoing in my mind. Jacob always gets what he wants. Always. Christmas morning came and went. I spent it alone, the wrapped presents still on my table, while my phone stayed silent. No calls from the kids. No video of them opening presents. Nothing. It was as if I'd been erased from their lives entirely. But the silence only lasted until the 27th of December. The doorbell rang at 7 a.m. Through the peephole, I saw Jacob standing there, looking haggard. His usual perfectly styled hair was disheveled, his designer jacket wrinkled. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. The kids were devastated, he said without preamble. They kept asking where Uncle Zayden was. Emma cried herself to sleep. The emotional manipulation was starting already, but I held firm. You told me not to come. I didn't think you'd actually listen, he exploded. What kind of brother abandons family on Christmas? The kind who's tired of being treated like an ATM. Is that what you think this is about, money? Jacob's face contorted with rage. This is about family, about loyalty, about you needing someone to fund your lifestyle while you pretend to be something you're not. The words hung between us like a challenge. Jacob's face cycled through emotions, surprise, anger, then a calculating coldness I'd seen before. You have no idea what it's like, he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. 3 kids, a mortgage, Kelly's expectations. The pressure I'm under every single day. You sit in your ivory tower, judging me. But you've never had real responsibilities. I've been paying your responsibilities for 7 years. Loans. He spat. Everything was a loan. I was always going to pay you back. We both knew that was a lie. Not once had he ever mentioned repayment. Not once had he even pretended these were loans. But Jacob had a gift for rewriting reality to suit his narrative. Fine, I said. Consider them gifts. All of it. Every penny. My gift to you. And now, I'm done giving. You can't just, he stopped, regrouping. Look, things got heated. We both said things we didn't mean. Kelly's inside with the kids. They want to see you. Don't punish them for our fight. I looked past him to the street. No car. You walked here? Where's Kelly? She's at home with the kids. I walked because I needed to clear my head. To think about what I was going to say to make this right. Another lie. Jacob never walked anywhere if he could help it. Which meant Kelly didn't know he was here. Go home, Jacob. Not until you agree to start helping again. The kids need stability. Tyler's tutoring starts next month. Emma's competition is in March. Mason has a specialist appointment that insurance won't fully cover. Then figure it out. Like everyone else does. Get a second job. Cut expenses. Stop pretending you're wealthier than you are. His face flushed red. You think it's that easy? You think I haven't tried? Do you know what it's like to have your wife look at you like you're a failure? To have your kids' friends' parents whisper about how you can't provide? So you use me to maintain an illusion? I use you? He laughed bitterly. You loved it. Being the savior. Being needed. Don't pretend this was all one-sided. You gotta feel important. Gotta matter to someone. Without us, what are you? Just another corporate drone with money and no meaning. The cruelty of it was breathtaking, but also revealing. This was who Jacob really was beneath the charm and the smiled requests for help. This was the brother who'd always resented my success. Who'd always felt entitled to what I'd earned. You should leave, I said quietly. I'm not going anywhere until... I closed the door in his face. He pounded on it for a few minutes, yelling threats about never seeing the kids again, about telling the whole family what kind of person I really was. Eventually, the pounding stopped. Through the window, I watched him storm off, pulling out his phone, probably already crafting his version of events for our parents. The calls started within an hour. Mom first, her voice carefully neutral as she asked what had happened. I gave her the facts, just the facts, and she listened without interrupting. He's always been jealous of you, she said finally. Even as kids. You worked for everything you have, and he always expected things to come easily. Then why do I feel so guilty? Because you have a good heart, and he knows how to exploit that. Dad's call was shorter. About time you stood up to him. Don't cave. He needs to learn. But the family consensus wasn't unanimous. Cousins called, aunts texted, all with versions of events that painted me as the villain who'd abandoned family in need. Jacob had been busy, spreading his narrative like wildfire. I muted my phone and tried to focus on work, but concentration was impossible. Every few minutes, I'd think about Emma's art supplies sitting unwrapped, about Tyler's excitement the last time I'd mentioned the switch, about little Mason who always ran to hug me first whenever I visited. 3 days passed in this strange limbo. Then, on New Year's Eve afternoon, my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Zayden Morrison? A professional female voice asked. Yes? My name is Patricia Caldwell. I'm an attorney representing Kelly Morrison, your sister-in-law. She'd like to meet with you, privately, without Jacob's knowledge. Would you be available this evening? My mind raced. Is this about divorce proceedings? Because I don't want to get in the middle of... It's about financial fraud, Mr. Morrison. And you're already in the middle of it. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown, one of those places that stayed open late for the New Year's Eve crowd. I arrived early, nursing a black coffee and trying to imagine what Kelly could possibly need a lawyer for that involved me. She arrived exactly on time, looking nothing like the perfectly put-together suburban mom I was used to seeing. Her designer clothes were replaced with simple jeans and a sweater. Her usually perfect makeup was minimal. She looked tired, defeated, but also somehow more real than I'd ever seen her. Patricia Caldwell was everything you'd expect from a high-powered attorney, sharp suit, sharper eyes, and an air of complete confidence. They sat across from me, and Kelly couldn't meet my eyes. Thank you for coming, Kelly said quietly. I know things are complicated right now. That's one way to put it. Patricia pulled out a tablet. Mr. Morrison, over the past 7 years, you've given your brother approximately $380,000. Is that correct? The number hit me like a punch. I'd never added it all up, never wanted to see the total. I haven't kept exact records, but that sounds possible. Kelly has, Patricia said, turning the tablet toward me. There, in meticulous detail, was every payment, every loan, every emergency contribution. She's been documenting everything. I stared at the spreadsheet, seeing my financial history with Jacob laid out in devastating detail. Each entry had dates, amounts, and what Jacob had claimed the money was for. But there was another column what the money was actually used for. Summer camp for kids. $5,000 matched with online gambling debt. $5,000. Emma's dance classes, $400 month, aligned with country club membership, $400 month. Mason's medical expenses, $15,000 corresponded to boat down payment, $15,000. My hands started shaking. He has a boat? Kelly finally looked up, tears streaming down her face. He has a lot of things. A mistress, too, apparently. Her name is Cheryl. He's been paying for her apartment with the money you gave for Tyler's tutoring. The room seemed to spin. Every sacrifice I'd made, Every overtime hour I'd worked thinking I was helping those kids, it had all been feeding Jacob's double life. How long have you known, I asked. Suspected? 2 years. Confirmed? 6 weeks. I hired a private investigator when the bank called about overdrafts on an account I didn't know existed. Kelly pulled out her phone, showing me photos. Jacob on a boat I'd inadvertently paid for. Jacob entering an apartment building downtown. Jacob at a casino at 2 a.m. when he'd told Kelly he was at a work conference. The kids? I managed to ask. They don't know. They can't know. Not yet. Kelly's voice broke. They adore their father, even though he's never at their events, even though he barely knows their teachers' names or their friends. He shows up with expensive gifts occasionally, plays the hero dad for an hour, and they forgive everything. Patricia intervened. Kelly needs your help, Mr. Morrison. Not financially, she's very clear about that. But she needs documentation from your end. Proof of what Jacob claimed the money was for versus what it was actually used for. She's filing for divorce and seeking full custody. Of course, I said immediately. Whatever you need. There's more, Kelly said quietly. Jacob's been taking out credit cards in my name. Loans too. I'm apparently hundreds of thousands in debt for things I've never seen. The house is double mortgaged. The college funds are empty. Everything is gone. The magnitude of Jacob's deception was staggering. This wasn't just lying to me, he'd destroyed his entire family's financial future. What about his job, I asked. He makes good money. Kelly laughed bitterly. He was fired 8 months ago. He's been pretending to go to work every day, sitting in coffee shops, going to the casino, visiting Cheryl. The severance ran out in October. That's why he was pushing you so hard for more money at Christmas. Everything clicked into place. The desperation in his voice, the escalation of demands, the cruel things he'd said when I refused. He was drowning and I'd been his life raft. I'm leaving him, Kelly said firmly. The kids and I are moving in with my parents in Portland, but I need to do this carefully. If he suspects anything, he'll empty what little is left and disappear. Maybe even try to take the kids just to hurt me. Patricia laid out the plan with military precision. Kelly would continue playing the devoted wife for 2 more weeks while secretly moving important documents and sentimental items to a storage unit. She'd already opened a new bank account in her name only, started redirecting her paycheck, and frozen her credit. What about the kid stuff, I asked. Only essentials and favorites. Anything Jacob might notice stays. I'll buy them new things once we're safe. Kelly's voice was steady, but her hands trembled. The hardest part is acting normal. Sitting across from him at dinner, knowing what I know. Listening to him lie about his day at a job he doesn't have. Why Portland? I asked. My parents. My support system. And Oregon has favorable custody laws when there's financial abuse involved. She paused. Also, it's far enough that he can't just show up whenever he wants. Patricia pulled out more documents. Now, Mr. Morrison, this is where we need your help. Jacob has been telling Kelly that you've been giving him loans that need to be repaid. He's been using this fictional debt to justify the financial stress. We need sworn statements that these were gifts, not loans. Done. Whatever you need. Kelly looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. He's going to come after you when he realizes I'm gone. He'll blame you. Say you poisoned me against him. Let him. You don't understand, she insisted. Jacob, when he's cornered, he's dangerous. Not physically, but he knows how to destroy people. Their reputations, their relationships, their peace of mind. He's vindictive in ways you can't imagine. I thought about the cruelty in his words during our last confrontation. I'm starting to get the picture. There's something else, Patricia said. The gambling debts. They're not all to casinos. Some are too. Less legitimate creditors, people who don't accept bankruptcy as an excuse for non-payment. The implications hung heavy in the air. Jacob wasn't just a liar and a cheat, he was in real danger, and by extension, so were Kelly and the kids. How much? I asked. 40,000 to various bookies. Maybe more. He's been juggling them, paying minimums to keep them at bay. Kelly's voice was barely a whisper. That's why I can't just leave normally. If they can't find him, they'll come looking for me and the kids. My protective instincts flared. These were my nephews and niece, regardless of their father's actions. What do you need? Time and invisibility. If I can get to Portland quietly, file the divorce papers from there, and establish residency, it becomes much harder for anyone to track us down. My parents' house is in a gated community. We'll be safe there. When? I asked. The 15th of January. Jacob has a conference in Chicago, a real one this time, for a job interview he doesn't know I know about. He'll be gone for 3 days. That's our window. Patricia stood. Mr. Morrison, I'll be in touch about the documentation we need. Kelly, remember nothing changes in your behavior. Not a single thing. Kelly gathered her things, then paused. Zayden, the kids love you. Really love you. None of this changes that. When we're settled, when it's safe, I want them to have a relationship with you. A real one, without Jacob's manipulation. The next 2 weeks were torture. Jacob called me repeatedly, leaving voicemails that ranged from apologetic to threatening. My personal favorite was the one where he simultaneously called me a heartless bastard and begged for just 1 more month of help. I didn't respond to any of them. Meanwhile, I was quietly gathering 7 years of bank statements, emails, and text messages for Patricia. The pattern, once you looked for it, was obvious. Every request for money coincided with large withdrawals from Jacob's accounts to gambling sites or payments to credit cards I now knew were funding his double life. On the 10th of January, Kelly called me from a burner phone Patricia had given her. He knows something's wrong, she whispered. He's been going through my things, checking my phone constantly. I think he might have installed tracking software. Can you get out early? No, if I deviate from the plan now, he'll know. I just have to make it 5 more days. What about the kids? They're safe. He won't hurt them, they're his image. His proof he's a good father. But Zayden, he mentioned you yesterday, out of nowhere. Said you'd always been jealous of his family, that you were probably trying to poison me against him. He's projecting, I know, but it means he's thinking about you. Be careful. The 13th of January, my doorbell rang at midnight. Through the security camera, I could see Jacob standing there, swaying slightly. He was drunk. I know you're in there, he shouted. I know you're watching me through your fancy cameras. Too good to face me like a man? I called building security instead of engaging. They removed him, but not before he'd woken half the floor with his yelling about family betrayal and abandonment. The 14th of January, the day before Kelly's escape, Patricia called. We have a problem. Jacob's Chicago trip was canceled. The company rejected him without an interview. My heart sank. So he'll be home? Yes. But Kelly's prepared. She's going to suggest he take the kids to his parents for the weekend. Give himself a break from the stress. His mother's already on board. Kelly called her, explained everything. She's horrified but willing to help. His own mother is helping Kelly leave him? Mrs. Morrison Sr. has apparently known about Jacob's problems for years. She's been enabling him, hoping he'd grow out of it. Kelly's situation was her wake-up call. The irony wasn't lost on me. Our mother, who'd always favored Jacob, was now helping his wife escape from him. The 15th of January arrived gray and drizzly. I couldn't focus on work, constantly checking my phone for updates. At 11 a.m., Kelly texted from her burner. He took them to his parents. I have 6 hours. The moving truck was already waiting 2 blocks away. Kelly's parents had driven down from Portland and were supervising the loading of essentials. By 2 p.m., another text. On the road. At 5 p.m., Jacob called me. I didn't answer, but his voicemail was chilling in its calmness. They're gone, Kelly and the kids. Their stuff is gone. And somehow, I know you're behind this. You've destroyed my family, Zayden. Destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. The calls started immediately after that voicemail. Not just from Jacob, but from extended family members he'd convinced that I'd orchestrated the breakup of his marriage. My phone became unbearable, so I turned it off and focused on work. 3 days later, Patricia called from her office line. Kelly and the kids are safe in Portland. Papers have been filed. Jacob's been served. How'd he take it? About as well as expected. He's hired an attorney, not a very good one, but an attorney nonetheless. He's claiming abandonment, parental alienation, and demanding full custody. I laughed bitterly. With what money? That's the interesting part. He somehow came up with a $10,000 retainer. We're investigating the source. That night, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You won." I opened it to find a lengthy message from Jacob. "Congratulations, brother. You got what you always wanted. My family broken. My life ruined. My children stolen from me. You always resented that I had what you couldn't. A wife. Children. A real family. So you poisoned them against me. Kelly was happy before you started interfering. The kids adored me before you made me look inadequate with your expensive gifts and your judgment. Everything was fine until you decided to play God with our lives. I've lost everything. My home, my family, my reputation. Everyone knows now Kelly made sure of that. She told everyone about the money, about Cheryl, who meant nothing, by the way, about the gambling, which was never as bad as she claims. She's turned me into a monster to justify her betrayal. But here's what you don't understand, Zayden. I know things about you too. About the shortcuts you took at work. About the people you stepped on to get where you are. About that incident in college you thought nobody remembered. I've been protecting you all these years, keeping your secrets. But now I have nothing left to lose. Watch your back, brother. This isn't over. The threat was clear, but also pathetic. The incident in college was me getting caught with alcohol in my dorm, hardly scandalous. The shortcuts at work were me working 80-hour weeks while he was gambling away my money. It was all bluster, the desperate flailing of a narcissist who'd lost control. But I forwarded it to Patricia anyway. Classic escalation pattern, she said. He'll threaten, blame everyone else, play victim, then eventually disappear when he realizes none of it's working. Just document everything and don't engage. 2 weeks passed. Kelly called from Portland, sounding lighter than I'd ever heard her. The kids are adjusting. Tyler's in a new school with an amazing dyslexia program. Emma's joined a dance studio, a regular one, not competitive, and she loves it. Mason's seeing a specialist who actually takes our insurance. And you? I'm free. For the first time in 15 years, I'm free. I got a job part-time for now, but it's something. My parents are helping with the kids. We're making it work. What about Jacob? Her voice hardened. He's filed motion after motion, demanding spousal support, claiming I kidnapped the kids, saying I stole community property. His lawyer keeps withdrawing the motions when Patricia provides evidence. It's all theater. February turned to March, and Jacob's presence in my life faded to occasional angry texts and the odd middle-of-the-night call I never answered. Then, on a Thursday evening, he showed up at my office building. Security called me. "Mr. Morrison, there's a Jacob Morrison here claiming to be your brother. He says it's a family emergency." I came down to find Jacob in the lobby, looking worse than I'd ever seen him. He'd lost weight, his clothes were wrinkled, and there was a desperation in his eyes that was almost pitiful. "5 minutes," he said. "Just give me 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We sat in the building's public cafe, security visible nearby. "I need help," he said without preamble. "The people I owe, they're not patient anymore. They've made threats, real threats. Go to the police." "With what?" Proof that I illegally gambled and now can't pay. They'll arrest me too. That's not my problem anymore, Jacob. It's $40,000. I know you have it. It's nothing to you. Please, Zayden, I'm begging you. After this, I'll disappear. You'll never hear from me again. Kelly can have the kids, the divorce, everything. I just need to not die. The old me might have caved. The part that still remembered the brother who taught me to ride a bike, who'd stood up for me against bullies in elementary school. But that brother was gone, if he'd ever really existed. They know where Mom and Dad live. They know where Kelly's parents live. They'll do nothing. Because if they were serious threats, you'd have gone to the police regardless of the consequences. This is just another manipulation, Jacob. Another lie to get money. His face transformed from desperate to vicious. You sanctimonious prick. You sit there in your tower, judging me. But you're no better. You needed us to need you. You needed to feel superior. Well, congratulations. You've won. You've taken everything from me. You took everything from yourself. He stood abruptly, knocking his chair back. When they come for me, when something happens to me, remember this moment. Remember that you could have saved me and chose not to. He stormed out, and I let him go. Security followed him to ensure he left the premises. That was the last time I saw my brother. A week later, Kelly called. Jacob's been arrested. For what? Fraud. He tried to take out a loan using my father's information. The bank flagged it, called my dad, and he pressed charges. The news should have brought relief, but instead, I felt only sadness. This was how it ended, not with redemption or understanding, but with handcuffs and charges. How are the kids handling it? They don't know yet. My therapist is helping me figure out how to tell them. How do you explain to children that their father is a criminal, that the man they love is also the man who betrayed them? I didn't have an answer. There wasn't a good one. It's been 6 months now since that night Jacob was arrested. He took a plea deal, 2 years probation, mandatory gambling, addiction counseling, and restitution to Kelly's father. The dangerous creditors he'd been so afraid of? They never materialized. Another lie in a long string of them. Kelly and the kids are thriving in Portland. She sent me pictures last week from Emma's dance recital. Tyler made honor roll with the help of his new tutoring program, one that actually exists and actually helps him. Mason's health issues are under control with consistent, real medical care. I've been to visit them twice. The first time was awkward. The kids didn't understand why their dad wasn't there, why Uncle Zayden and Mom were acting strange. But the second visit was better. We went to the zoo, had pizza, and for a few hours, it felt like what family should feel like. Kelly's divorce was finalized last month. Jacob didn't show up to court. His lawyer presented a settlement agreement. He gave up all custodial rights in exchange for Kelly not pursuing criminal charges for the financial fraud. She agreed, not for his sake, but to spare the kids a lengthy trial. My parents have been supportive in their own way. Mom still struggles with what Jacob became, often wondering where she went wrong. Dad is more pragmatic, he says. Jacob made his choices, and now he has to live with them. They've been helping Kelly financially, trying to make up for the years they enabled Jacob's behavior by looking the other way. As for Jacob himself, he's living in a studio apartment on the other side of the city, working at a call center. Mutual acquaintances say he tells anyone who'll listen about how his family betrayed him, how his brother stole his wife and children. He's created a narrative where he's the victim, and maybe he even believes it. I've thought a lot about forgiveness lately. Not for Jacob, I'm not there yet. May never be. But for myself. For all the years I enabled him without realizing it. For all the money that could have gone directly to the kids instead of through their father's filters. For not seeing the truth sooner. Patricia called yesterday with an unexpected update. Cheryl, Jacob's mistress, had reached out to Kelly. She didn't know Jacob was married, didn't know the money he was spending on her was stolen from his family. She wanted to apologize, to return what she could. It wasn't much, some jewelry, a watch, but the gesture meant something to Kelly. Another woman who'd been deceived by Jacob's elaborate lies. The gifts I bought the kids last Christmas are still in my apartment, still wrapped. Kelly says I should bring them next visit, that enough time has passed. Maybe I will, or maybe I'll donate them and start fresh. Buy new gifts that aren't tainted with the memory of that horrible December. I've started therapy myself, working through the guilt and anger and grief. Grief for the brother I thought I had, for the family we could have been. My therapist says it's normal to mourn the loss of someone who's still alive, especially when that person never really existed the way you believed they did. Last week, I got a letter from Jacob, an actual letter, handwritten, sent to my office. It was 12 pages of justification, blame, and veiled threats. I gave it to Patricia for documentation, but I didn't read past the first page. I don't need to. I know what it says, variations of what he's been saying all along. That everyone else is to blame. That he's the real victim. That someday I'll understand what I've done. But I do understand. I understand that sometimes love means letting go. That enabling isn't helping. That family isn't about blood, it's about trust, respect, and genuine care. And I understand that Kelly and those kids are my family now, in a way Jacob never really was. They're coming to visit next month. Tyler wants to see the science museum. Emma wants to go shopping. And Mason just wants to play video games with Uncle Zayden. Kelly's planning to look for jobs here, thinking about moving back eventually. Not for me, she insists, but for the support system, the familiarity, the chance to rebuild in a place that feels like home. I'm helping her look at apartments, ones she can actually afford, with her own money from her own job. No loans, no gifts with strings, just an uncle helping his sister-in-law and nephews and niece find their footing. It feels right in a way that all those years of financial support to Jacob never did. The money I've saved since cutting Jacob off has gone into trust funds for the kids, real ones, managed by a third party. Accessible only for education and only by them when they're old enough. Jacob can't touch them, can't even know they exist until the kids are 18. It's what I should have done from the beginning. Sometimes I wonder if Jacob thinks about that Christmas, about the moment everything changed. Does he recognize it as the turning point, or does he see it as just another injustice in a life full of perceived slights? I'll never know, and I'm learning to be okay with that. My phone just buzzed with a text from Kelly. It's a video of Mason reading, actually reading, not just pretending like he used to. "Uncle Zayden, look what I can do," he shouts at the camera. "Mom says you can come to my reading party at school. Will you come?" I text back. "Wouldn't miss it for anything." And I mean it. This is what family really looks like. Not perfect, not without scars, but real, honest, free from manipulation and lies and the constant calculation of who owes what to whom. Jacob was wrong about one thing. I didn't steal his family. He threw them away. And I just happened to be there to help catch them when they fell. The difference between us isn't money or success or any of the things he always resented. It's that when given the choice between control and love, I chose love, even if it meant losing a brother I never really had.